即便是再迟钝的人，应该也感觉到了这个世界已经到了崩溃的边缘，黄金疯狂暴涨，股市接连熔断。美国和
Australia's military command received an alert. Several Chinese warships were operating within range of sensitive northern sea lanes. Surveillance aircraft flying out of RAAF base Darwin confirmed the presence of a Chinese naval formation unusually close to Australia's exclusive economic zone. While foreign naval traffic in international waters isn't new, these ships weren't just passing by, they were maneuvering, and they were armed. What followed was a tense 48 hours. Chinese vessels, including a Type 052D destroyer and an electronic surveillance ship, remained near key maritime routes used by both military and civilian ships. Even more alarming, they appeared to be conducting coordinated operations. The Australian Navy, already on edge after months of rising tensions, immediately launched shadowing missions to track every movement. This wasn't the first time the Chinese ships appeared near Australian waters, but it was the closest, the boldest, and the most strategic in timing. The incident sent a ripple of unease across defense circles, not just in Canberra, but in Washington, London, and Tokyo. Why is China sailing so close to Australia now? And why with such confidence? Let's dive into exactly what happened, how far China went this time, and why this move could mark a turning point in the Indo-Pacific. The situation unfolded quickly. On March 3rd, multiple radar and satellite signatures showed a coordinated movement of 6 Chinese naval vessels operating in international waters, but unusually close to Australia's north. Among them were 2 advanced Type 054A frigates, a Type 052D destroyer equipped with vertical launch missiles, a signals intelligence or SIGINT vessel, and 2 logistical support ships. What made this patrol different wasn't just the proximity, it was the behavior. The ships slowed to formation speed, spread out in a deliberate pincer shape, and began transmitting coded bursts, believed to be testing regional electronic warfare channels. This type of maneuver isn't typical for routine patrols, and according to defense sources, the SIGINT ship lingered just outside of Australia's EEZ boundary, gathering data from civilian and military frequencies alike. Military aircraft flying patrol routes, including the P-8A Poseidon, were rerouted for extended coverage. Australian command flagged this movement as a Level 3 surveillance priority, a status normally reserved for high-risk unidentified submarines or direct threats to national infrastructure. China's warships didn't issue warnings, but they activated radar systems typically reserved for combat readiness. These missions were picked up by U.S. intelligence satellites in Guam, further verifying the unusual nature of the deployment. Within hours, the U.S. Indo-Pacific Command issued a low-key NOTAM, or Notice to Airmen, warning commercial pilots to avoid the area northeast of Darwin due to foreign naval exercises. By midday, the Australian public had already started reacting. Local Darwin media outlets published aerial footage leaked by defense watchers. The headline on NT News read, "Red ships on the horizon." Some residents near coastal defense facilities reported hearing the low rumble of jets taking off throughout the night. The real wake-up call came when China's Ministry of Defense released a statement the next day. It read, "China has the right to conduct peaceful naval operations in the Indo-Pacific, just as others do near our coasts. Australia should not exaggerate routine activity." That didn't sit well with Australian officials in Canberra. For Australia, this is not just a close call sail-by, it's a demonstration of reach, coordination, and intent. Experts at the Australian Strategic Policy Institute warned that this was not a one-off, it was a test of tolerance and timing. As the Chinese fleet moved eastward towards waters near the Solomon Islands, many Australia began asking, what's the next move, and will the Chinese ships be back, closer and bolder than before? Do you think China is just testing in waters? Or are they preparing for something bigger? Let us know what you think in the comments. Australia's military wasted no time. Within hours of confirming the Chinese fleet's position, 2 RAAF P-8A Poseidon aircraft were airborne from Darwin, flying wide arcs over the northern coast. Their mission? To gather high-resolution images, monitor communication signals, and establish a constant eye on the intruding vessels. Simultaneously, the Royal Australian Navy dispatched 2 Anzac-class frigates, HMAS Parramatta and HMAS Toowoomba, to shadow the Chinese ships from a safe distance. Armed, but not confrontational, these frigates maintained radio silence while tracking every maneuver, reporting data back to Fleet Command in Sydney in real time. Behind the scenes, Australia activated its Joint Intelligence Operations Centre, or JIOC, where analysts from the Defense Intelligence Organization and allied agencies pooled data. The Chinese ship's electronic signatures, weapons system status, and radar patterns were logged and compared to previous encounters in the South China Sea. But Australia didn't respond alone. Just 48 hours after the sighting, US and UK representatives at the AUKUS Defence Coordination Council received a classified briefing from Australian officials. Sources later confirmed that within days, a US Navy P-8 and a British Astute-class submarine were both operating in the Coral Sea, not far from the Chinese formation's path. It was a subtle but unmistakable message. AUKUS was watching. The government also launched a diplomatic wave, briefing officials in Indonesia, Papua New Guinea, and New Zealand. The Solomon Islands, long seen as drifting toward Chinese influence, were specifically warned about the implications of allowing warships to anchor in their ports. According to leaked cables, Australia even offered financial aid packages to strengthen maritime patrols among smaller Pacific nations. Meanwhile, at home, the public response was intense. Editorials in major newspapers called for stronger coastal defenses. Defense analysts appeared nightly on TV, warning that the Indo-Pacific was becoming the new chessboard of the 21st century power politics. In Darwin, increased military activity was impossible to miss. More flights, more patrols, more soldiers. Interestingly, Australia's approach avoided direct confrontation. There were no aggressive radio challenges or close passes. Instead, the strategy was built on calm, layered deterrence. Observe, respond, prepare without escalating. But make no mistake, the message was clear. If the Chinese fleet thought Australia would stay quiet, they were wrong. And if they returned with greater force, Australia would not be alone in its response. So what if they come back and get even closer next time? Remember, this wasn't just a military maneuver. It was part of a broader pattern. China pushing its influence deeper into the Pacific. As Chinese warships loomed near Australia's northern sea lanes, the AUKUS alliance linking Australia, the United States, and the United Kingdom quietly shifted gears from long-term strategy to immediate coordination. Just a week after the naval standoff, Australia, the US, and the UK began a high-intensity joint exercise in the Coral Sea, involving over a dozen warships, long-range surveillance aircraft, and even cyber warfare units. Officially labeled as routine interoperability drills, the timing said otherwise. One key development: the presence of a Virginia-class U.S. nuclear submarine operating near the drill zone. While its exact location remained classified, its deployment was confirmed by defense officials. This marked the first time Australia coordinated real-time submarine tracking with the US and UK commands in response to Chinese activity so close to home. In Parliament, Prime Minister Anthony Albanese reaffirmed the country's AUKUS commitment, calling it a shield against coercion. He also revealed that construction had begun on infrastructure to host rotating US bomber units in northern Australia, part of a broader deterrent strategy to signal that any threat to Australia would be met with coordinated force. Meanwhile, a newly commissioned Royal Australian Air Force cyber team, trained in the US, ran electronic disruption simulation, testing how Chinese vessels might respond to non-kinetic attacks. The results of these classified scenarios were briefed to AUKUS members and reportedly led to an upgrade in Allied readiness protocols. But AUKUS isn't just about hardware, it's about signaling. And the message was loud and clear: Australia will not face this challenge alone. Still, questions remain. Can the alliance stay this united when tensions escalate further? And will these exercises be enough to keep China from pushing again? The drills in the Coral Sea may be only the beginning, because the real challenge might still be on the horizon. The March 2025 naval incident may have ended without conflict, but it marked the beginning of a new, more dangerous phase in the Indo-Pacific. Military analysts now warn of a slow boil scenario, where Chinese warships return more frequently, each time pushing slightly deeper or staying slightly longer. The goal? To normalize their presence and make resistance seem unreasonable or overly aggressive. This isn't speculation either. In recent weeks, unconfirmed reports suggest China has approached multiple Pacific nations, including Vanuatu and Kiribati, with offers to expand port infrastructure. Australia, aware of the risks, is racing to respond. In early April, the government approved a fast-track funding package to modernize northern radar arrays and build rapid deployment airstrips in Queensland. The defense minister also announced plans to double the number of long-range surveillance drones by 2026. Consider this. A Chinese destroyer locks its fire control radar onto an Australian reconnaissance plane. Mistakenly or deliberately, it doesn't matter. Or a low-flying drone from Australia crosses too close to a Chinese ship conducting exercises. In either case, escalation can happen in seconds. Military history is full of flashpoints that started with misunderstandings. The 2001 EP-3 incident between the US and China is just one example. In today's faster, more interconnected battlefield, there's even less room for error. Some experts warn of a potential Taiwan spillover effect. If tensions escalate in the Taiwan Strait, Chinese fleets could push even further into the Pacific as a diversion or show of force. In that case, Australia's northern defense line might become a front line almost overnight. So what does Australia need to do next? Build faster, think sharper, and keep working with allies who share the same fears and values. The future of peace in the Pacific depends on whether democracies can match the speed and ambition of a rising China. If you were in charge of Australia's defense right now, would you ramp things up even more or try to cool things down? Let us know what you'd do in the comments. This wasn't just a close call at sea. It was a clear signal from Beijing. We can reach your doorstep. What are you going to do about it? For Australia and its allies, that question now defines their next moves in one of the world's most contested regions. What unfolded in March 2025 exposed more than a fleet near Darwin. It revealed just how fast Indo-Pacific balance is shifting and how prepared or unprepared countries might be when those shifts turn into pressure points. China's growing naval reach, island diplomacy, and dual-use infrastructure projects show a long game. Not built for a single headline, but for strategic advantage over years. Australia's answer? Rapid modernization, stronger alliances, and sharper diplomacy. The tools are in motion, but time is the real challenge. This isn't a movie plot. This is the beginning of a high-stakes rivalry playing out on real maps with real consequences. Each drill, each agreement, and each patrol is just another piece on the chessboard. And as more ships sail through these waters, the line between influence and intimidation is getting harder to see. So let me ask you this. Do you think these moves are part of a future conflict or a new Cold War already underway? Drop your thoughts in the comments. We read every one. And hey, we're almost at 100,000 subscribers, and you can help us reach it. If this video gave you a new perspective, then hit that like button, subscribe, and stay updated. Turn on those notifications so you never miss an upload. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.
普通人根本没享受到科技的红利，反而进入了一个竞争被无限放大的时代。